I told you Disney wasn't done with Spider-Man.
I'll tell you all about it.
That was real good. That was money, first of all.
Let's do another.
I'm Chris Knight. This is The Real Review 3000, and we're doing another video on the Sony Disney Spider-Man deal. Now, last week I did mention that I didn't think this was over, and literally the day after everybody said the deal was dead, Sony made a statement stating that they were hoping to still negotiate this deal. And then this week, I believe on the 1st of September, news YouTube channel called We've Got This Covered came out with a story saying that quite possibly a deal could be done by the end of this week. Now, Heavy Spoilers also took this story and they dug a little deeper, got a little more information, and cited a few sources. So I'm going to put all these videos that I was watching to get this information, and I'm going to put it down below. So when I say, that this came from a video, just watch those videos and you'll get the gist of what I'm talking about, because I've pretty much condensed this down. So first off, Heavy Spoilers stated that this new deal would allow both studios to use the character equally, so they both have access to the character, and that kind of makes you think that Tom Holland might be doing both if they end up making this deal work. There's something else later on that I'll mention that kind of makes me think that even more. But so a guy named Mickey Sutton stated that his sources said that both sides might have a deal done by the end of this week. He says that could all change, but all things are going in the right direction. And he mentioned something about, show business. Things can turn and whatnot. But he says he believes that there will be a deal done by this week, by the end of this week. Now, Mikey Sutton, whatever you want to call him, Sutton is not anybody new to the Sony Disney deal. In fact, Sutton was the one who broke, long before anyone else, that Sony and Disney had a deal before Civil War was released. He was the one that broke that story. Also, he was the first one to mention that negotiations were falling apart long before Deadline or anybody else, and that Sony was going to pull the character. So he was the first one to do both of those. So with him saying this, it lends credence to the fact that there probably is a deal close at hand. Now, another thing that one of these videos mentions was that Tom Holland was given strict instructions not to talk about Spider-Man at the Keystone Comic-Con. Also, in another post, there was a panelist or a panel attendee that went to this Comic-Con, and they said people were asked not to ask Spider-Man questions, as it could mess up contract talks that are announced in the next few days. Not contract talks that might happen, but that are going to be announced in the next 2 days. That's what they were told. Now, that's just a little bit, but also in that same video, Tom Holland is quoted as saying, "It is not the end of me playing Spider-Man." So there's more he says, but that right there makes me think that he's basically been told by Sony, even if this deal doesn't get done, we're going to pull you over here and you're going to do the character because we like what you're doing. Now, if the deal gets done, I think he's got all sorts of work, because I think both studios are going to use Spider-Man, and that's what it sounds like. Now, the terms seem to be that Sony can use Spider-Man and Venom 2, and either in the live-action Spider-Verse, and then Disney and Sony would be working on an MCU Spider-Man. So that's what I think Tom Holland has been promised, that he was promised a Spider-Man 3 by Sony, but if Disney comes in, they're probably going to handle that one, since it's going to be in the MCU version, I think. And this also kind of makes me think that there's a chance that Disney could also get use of Venom and several other characters from the Spider-Man comics. because it sounds like they're going to have use of all of these different characters together. Now, one of the big things they said was the problem with this deal was that Sony didn't want to renegotiate a deal unless they had use of Spider-Man in Venom 2, because they had shot a cameo for Venom with Spider-Man. And Disney basically said, that's not our vision, that's not what we want, you can't do that. And so they pulled it. But when Sony came up to contract time, they said, this time we're going to get to use this character when we want, how we want. And that was another reason why the contract talk broke down. So with all of that going on, this seems to me that if this deal goes down, and if Disney also gets use of a bunch of other Spider-Man characters, that this is going to be the start of Disney buying Spider-Man, if not just Spider-Man, the Spider-Man characters. Now, I'm not positive about that, but it sounds like if Sony is willing to give a little more to get use of the character the way they want to, and they're willing to give the character to Disney to do another movie, that quite possibly they're thinking that if we start collaborating more and letting them use these other characters, that money will flow in more. Because remember, Disney made Spider-Man $1 billion movie. Now, I'm not sure what the other ones did in total, but the first trilogy, I'm sure, didn't make $1 billion. I know it didn't make $1 billion on any one film. I'm not sure if it made $1 billion altogether. And then the Andrew Garfield version, I don't think made $1 billion between the two of them. So the fact that they made $1 billion out of one says a lot. So again, I'm still under the impression that Disney is going to go after Spider-Man eventually. But it sounds like we're going to have a deal, and Spider-Man might be back in the MCU by the end of this week. We'll find out. So with that said, I'm Chris Knight. This is The Real Review 3000. Do me a favor, hit that like button down below. Leave a comment. Let me know what you think of this video. Let me know if you think I'm crazy. Also, hit that bell down below so you know when we're coming out with new stuff. And, hey, if you don't like the video, still hit that like button. I appreciate all you guys coming through and watching, and everybody have a good day.
Hey guys, thanks for checking us out. Be sure to subscribe to both channels, and make sure to check out our friends in the Fandom Menace. You can find us on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and BitChute, and you can also send us an email at sean@seanstackhousereacts.com and chrisknight@therealreview3000.com. Be sure to swing by our Teespring store to pick up some awesome merchandise.